Hey guys, it's Superior and welcome to C++ tutorial number 33. In this tutorial we're going to be looking at a bit more of input. Now, I know we were getting onto pointers, but I'm just going to postpone that not until next tutorial, because we're actually going to be doing something different next tutorial as well. But it's just going to be these two tutorials, and then we're going to get back onto pointers. So no need to worry there. Oops, someone's trying to message me. Close. There we go. So what is the difference between the input we're going to be looking at in this case and the input we've been using so far? Well, so far when we've been inputting stuff, we've been typing in a string or character character or number sequence, I should say, and just pressing the return key. Now, what actually happens is when we type in letters, those letters are being stored in somewhere called a buffer, and when we submit those, the character or number strings are submitted. Number sequences are submitted. But when you use a return, for instance, to submit them, the return is not submitted into the string, and so what we're actually left with is nothing but a return. So like a /n like this, left in the buffer. And this can cause problems if we have like stdsyn, whatever, you know. Then we have stdsyn.getLine. What you might find is that the get line will be, you know, almost skipped. Let's just give this test. We'll just quickly create. We'll send into an int, and we'll make a character. We'll call it buffer and give it 50 characters. So with getLine, I'm just going to specify the buffer to put it into. So in this case, the variable is called buffer, and maximum characters 49, because we need that one character for the /0, which is a non-terminating character in the C-cell string. Now let's give this as a test run. I'm not sure if this will work, but might as well try. Okay, there you go. Now oh wait, that was okay. Let's try that again because I input characters. Okay, there you go. What actually happened there is we only had two inputs where there should have been three. There should have been this first one, the syn, then the syn.getLine, and finally this last program holder. But we only got two there. So one, yeah, and then this is the character one, two, and it ends the program after that. Okay, and just to demonstrate this even further, let's output an int, and then I'll do it on this same line as well, and then buffer. I don't think I have to loop through it. We'll see. Okay, so what you can see here is we've first outputted the 34324, and it may not be clear to everyone, but we have actually output the return space. That's the return. Okay, that's why this input sequence is on this line as opposed to on this line where it would have been if we hadn't. I'll just demonstrate that. If we take out this, whatever, you can see it's on that line. Okay, so that's just a demonstration. So how do we deal with this? Well, we can do something that's really quite easy to understand and to make. Now you can do this inside the main function. I mean, yeah, of course you can do it inside the main function. I've just put it in a sort of an input function just so it's compact, because I'll probably be using it often, so in lots of different places I don't want to have to repeat the code. Of course, that's why we have functions, so I've just put it into a function. So yeah, what you'll actually find when we get a bit more into pointers and even onto references is we can use one function rather than having one function for everything for safe input, rather than having, and even templates as well, but we won't talk about that now. One function for everything rather than having individual functions which return different things for each type of input we want to use, so we don't have to type out all this code every time. But anyway, let's look at the actual bulk of the getInt function. So this is just gonna get an integer from the user, and it just takes one parameter, which is a message you want to output, and by default that's please put in an integer. Okay. What we actually see here is first we have declared a temporary integer variable, which will store the value that the user is going to input. Then we've said while not stdsyn into the temporary variable. So this, what does this statement actually mean? What does while not syn mean? Well, basically, when we try and input into an integer, syn will only accept, or cin will only accept input which is of an integer type, okay, and also is within the limits of integers, so it's not a number that's too big, you know, over, what was it, 2 trillion, I think it is, over 2 trillion, so the integer, the limit on an integer. So, you know, stdsyn has its limits, and if you go over those limits, what syn actually does is it goes into something called a fail state, and it won't take any input unless the fail state is cleared, and you know, it's so to speak, the stdsyn is reset, you know. So really easy to do this. Actually, I'll just demonstrate it quickly. If we, oh wait, we can't do it with this one because this is the one that solves that problem. We'll just an int stdsyn an int. If you can see here, if I run this program and I type in characters, it immediately ends the program. That's because syn has gone into that fail state that we talked about. So we have to clear or reset the stdsyn. And we do that really simply with stdsyn.clear. Okay, the clear function will clear that state. And also, considering the other problem we talked about, where we have that the new line character still in the buffer, how do we solve something like that? Well, really simple as well. What we actually need, we need to include a library for this part. Really simple library, just include the limits library. And we're just going to use the function stdsyn.ignore, which allows you to ignore a certain number of characters in the buffer. And by ignore I mean chuck them out of the buffer. Okay. And in this function, we're supplying 2 arguments. The first argument we supply is the number of characters we would like to ignore.